Good evening, good morning, good afternoon. Welcome to the same old Screamers. I got it right
We got it
first time.
right.
Three two attempts. I got it right in one. The same old Screamers is back for episode 3. And I'm your host tonight, Dan Potts. Unfortunately, Craig is not with us tonight. He is not very well. I think his back's gone, bless him. And he's been with the doctors all day trying to get some painkillers and trying to rest up. So we wish him well and hopefully be back later on in the week. Joining me, as always, is Simo. Simo, how are you, mate?
Very well, mate. Well, not very well, actually. that's just normally my go-to. I'm fine, but I'm actually dying inside. That's I'll put on a smile for the show. But yeah, it's been a rough couple of days.
Yeah, it's been a strange time. We will get into it. Joining us again is Jake. Jake, how you doing, bud?
All good, mate. All good. Bit similar to Simo, really.
Yeah, I think we're all a bit like that. And I couldn't leave it just the three of us. I thought, who do I know that I can come on and take the mick out of for an hour? And I thought, Ray. So, Ray, how you doing, buddy?
Oh, you couldn't get lead judges. You got his standing stunt double, and you got me instead. I've got to say, I've got to wish Craig all the best. And if I'm right, the best painkiller right now is watching Arsenal play football. So he's sorted.
Put you right.
Do you know what, man? You're not even wrong. That is the thing. And you won't hear any arguing from me about the way our football club's being run at the moment, and the way we're playing is even more shambolic. But there is only one way to start and one place to start, and it is the Super League. When this news came out over the weekend, it was as if all of football had gone into mourning. Gary Neville had his rant, Jamie Carragher and Gary Neville last night ranting outrage in the media, in the fan base. There's been a lot of backlash. I made my opinions quite clear last night on the same old Arsenal about what I thought about it. And I said that in 2003, when Roman took over Chelsea, I thought that potentially money would ruin football. And I never really knew as to how bad it would get until this weekend passed. We don't know enough about it yet to lose our heads completely. But from what we're hearing, it does not sound too good. I'm amazed that Arsenal and Spurs have even mentioned in this. And the reason it is because it's the rich six, not the big six. Let's get that right. There is no way that Everton, West Ham and Leicester deserve to be put behind Spurs and Arsenal, particularly in this season. But they are, because they're not as rich. And it's clearly a money-making thing yet again. There's nothing wrong with our format in the Champions League. There's nothing wrong with the Europa League. That's what you all want to be looking towards in terms of ambition. Every single club should want to play in European football. And it's no different. This Super League is a disgrace as far as I'm concerned. And there's no other word for it. The only words that people are talking about are greed. They're talking about little mafias coming together. They're talking about American owners not having any understanding of what football is about, what the English game's about. And I stand by that. And I think as well, if you're looking at what the American sports do in ice hockey, in basketball, in baseball, and this isn't a slate Americans, this is just to say that their sports are completely different to England for a reason. I don't want to see Beyonce and Jay-Z at halftime. I don't want to see trumpets and cheerleaders. I don't want to watch my team and then at halftime go and have a beer on the concourse and speak to my late lads and say, like, how did you think that went? And most of the time of late, it's been absolutely diabolical. But that's part of it. That's what happens. You get there, you chat to your mates and you have a chat. I don't want to hear drum and bass while I'm watching the football. I don't want to hear, like basketball, loads of music. I don't want to see any of that stuff. I love football for what it is. And at the moment, what we're seeing is the first of what could be quite a bad time for Arsenal Football Club, for English football, and for football in general. And I think that Gary Neville was right in what he's saying. It could change forever. Simo, let's come to you. How was you feeling once the news broke this weekend?
A little bit numb, mate. It didn't actually feel quite real. To comprehend what they were trying to do, it just baffled me. And then it just kept coming. The club statements came out. I was shocked by that. And I genuinely can't believe it. I mean, I can't believe these billionaires are sat in little dark rooms and Zoom calls making the decisions that affect billions of people. Billions of people watch football, and it just doesn't belong to them. And right, you've mentioned that how the Americans run sports, and it is completely different from how we do it. There is no, in the vast majority of sports in America, there is no promotion or relegation. In the MLS, there is no promotion or relegation. If you buy in as a franchise, But there's a lot of other things that are different. They draft a lot of their players from college. They have wage caps. You can only pay a certain amount of players, a certain amount of money to make sure that they keep a certain amount of homegrown players. There's none of that in this Super League. None of it. It doesn't make any sense. That the only reason that you can't promote or relegate in this league is to offer these billionaires assurances that they have the steady stream of income, and. It's calculated that if you're a team in this league and it does go ahead, you make 200 billion a year just off this league, not off the Premier League. Your domestic league becomes the Carabao Cup, essentially, and it becomes because your domestic performance means you could be in a championship and you still operate in this league making 200 million a year. And how are the teams around you supposed to compete with that? How is Leicester, Villa, Leeds United, Everton, Wolves, all these teams that are trying to chase the top six and dismount them, and that's the way football should be. There should always be a chasing pack that's trying to catch up and get there, and it's an absolute disgrace.
100%. It needs to be. It needs to be that ambition. There
needs to be the door that's open for this, and I don't know what I'll do if this goes ahead.
Likewise, Ray, I'll bring you in. I think that when it comes to it, the main thing about this that everyone hates is the fact that it could ruin what we've grew up and loved. And I know there's been change before. I know there was the Premier League that was made up. This is different because we're talking about Ipswich Town potentially being promoted at one stage in their life. This is not the same. These clubs are rich enough to compete with each other. And as much as we want to see football in the elite, not this way, surely, Ray.
Yeah, but look, I mean, I'm probably a few years older than you guys, so I was knocking about in the 70s.
Just a few.
Cheers, mate. Football was very, very different. And you're right. I mean, the Premier League's come along. We've had lots of things have come in to change the landscape. You know, there used to be a time where you shared revenue at home games with the away side. They took that away because obviously teams like Man United, most of the fans at Old Trafford are Man United fans, so they wanted more of the revenue for themselves. And slowly things have been eroded. The Premier League came in. And here's the thing. People talk about a chance to get in the Premier League and into the Champions League from the Premier League. I mean, I still hate the fact that it's not the champions that are going to the European Cup. I mean, it's a load of rubbish, this Champions League. You get Liverpool finishing 20-odd points off the top, and then they get in the Champions League, lose 4 games out of 13, and they win the whole tournament. I mean, that's giving too much luck and too much of a fair chance when they don't deserve it. I mean, it's not having a pop at Liverpool; it's just having a pop at the system. So it's been going on for donkey's years. And if you actually look at the teams that are qualified for the Champions League in all the seasons that I think it's been running, I read somewhere the other day, it's about 92% of all clubs qualified from the Big Six. So you've got very few other clubs that have actually qualified. So people say, oh, yeah, you can get there, but actually, can you? You know, I read it was 96 teams could have qualified for the Champions League. I mean, Blackburn did it once, Leeds did it once, Newcastle did it twice, Everton did it twice, and maybe Leicester once. That's it, 7, 8, and 9, whatever. And that's out of 96. So there's not many that actually make it. So if they're going to have 15 teams that, don't ever get relegated and always get there, they're still offering 5 places for other teams. And there might be another team from England that make it. How much different is that to what's been going on? So money's always been there. And the rich and powerful, I said this today, we're in a capitalist society. The rich and powerful want to become richer and more powerful. And they'll do whatever it takes and stand on whoever's neck they want to make that happen. We had we had United and Liverpool had the audacity to try and snatch power between themselves with this project big picture. And I said, it will come back in a different guise, whether it's a project big picture for the Premier League or like this, the Super League. It's going to come back because the American owners, they will what I said they'll do, they'll get their mates to buy clubs. Like Burnley was sold for about 200 million quid. And they had a lot of money in the bank. So I think the guy probably put less than 50 million quid down. I think it was 30 million quid or something, and he borrowed the rest. So, and then you get enough clubs together and they'll vote for like Turkey's voting for Christmas. So the money's is taken over. I can't see how we're going to turn it around as fans. We don't matter. We don't care. And I've said this for years. Fans don't really matter to the clubs. At City now, I think the pre-COVID, our match day income was about 9%, 9 or 10% of our total income. So that's how little fans matter. If you go back probably 7 or 8 years, it'd have been 20% of our total income. And the problem is the local fans don't give any more to the club. We got a season kit, the card. Cheapest one now is 325 quid. So you can get to see some of the best football in the world at under 20 quid a league game. If they sell those tickets on the open market, they're selling them for 60 to 80 quid. Mm-hmm. So they don't want us local fans. I'll go there. If I take my son, I'll buy him something to eat and maybe some sweets or whatever. But a lot of fans, you see them, they're in the pub across the road, 20 minutes before kickoff. They cross the road, get inside, watch the game, finish, out, go back to the pub, go down the chippy. They spend nothing at the club. And they want these global fans to come who are coming from the States. You get there, you've got to buy a kit, haven't you? You've got to buy a program. You've got to have a full experience. So they're much happier to have someone there once or twice in their lifetimes spending 200 or 300 quid to go than a local fan who's spending 300 quid on a season card and very, very little else. So, it's the way it's going to go, and it's going to keep going because these guys, they want a consistency. They want a consistency of income. They want to know what their budgets are for the following year. If you don't know until the last day of the season whether you're going to get in the Champions League and get an extra 80 million quid or not, how can you determine your budget for the following season? They want this certainty. You can see, you stop me anytime you want, but the markets, see how they reacted. United's stock market value went up $250 million. Was it Juventus's went up 17% on the back of this? So the problem is a lot of these big clubs, look, they're crap now. AC Milan haven't won their league since 2010, since 2011, since 2010. Juventus is at fourth at the moment. They've had a nice run, and all that. Spurs haven't won the league
60 years
since I had hair. Okay, 1961. They haven't won the league. And they're not even going to struggle to qualify this season. Arsenal, you're down sat in 9th or 10th. You haven't won the league since about 15 years ago, 16 years ago. You got other clubs, and what's happened is they've been badly managed. They've been badly financially managed, and that's left them in this crap state. You got the Spanish clubs, £1 billion in debt. Barcelona, £1 billion in debt. Real Madrid, something like 700 or 800 million quid in debt. And they need to stop. I mean, I think there is going to be a wage cap. It's going to be 55% of turnover. So they're finding ways to say, right, we're going to put a limit on this, and the rest of it is going to be profit. So instead of losing, what they're doing obviously now is losing money to try and keep pace with someone who's got more money than them, and they don't want to do that. Whereas all the way through football's history, it's if the fella next to you's got more money and puts more money in, they're going to get a better chance of success. Since Jake's not here, I'll have a cheap pop at Liverpool. But Liverpool is a prime example of a club that were formed simply to make money because the owner tried to put up the rent. Everton used to play at Anfield. They put the rent up. They said, screw this. Went across Stanley Park and built their own stadium at Goodison Park. So this fella's left there with an empty stadium, no tenants. He formed a football club within 4 or 6 years. They'd won the first division, won the league because he pumped the money in. So whoever pumps the money, you saw Jack Walker, he pumped enough money in, they won the league. Sir John Hall pumped so much money in, Newcastle almost won the league. And it's the same. Abramovich pumped the money in, Chelsea won the league.
Can think of another club that pumped the money in.
Everybody's pumping money in. And that's what it's all about. So these guys, they've had success for so long because they were the richest. No one could compete. Now someone's coming along and said, hang on, you guys are paupers compared to me. Shit Mansour comes along with $22 billion and says, what are you guys doing?
I was going to say, who's the richest in the league right now, Ray?
Well, that's it. Well, that's it. Abramovich comes and so these guys are now playing second fiddle to everybody else, and their finances can't cope. They don't want to sell up. They want to keep control. There will be people who are quite willing to buy some of these fallen giants, but the problem is they want that steady stream of income. They want the place at the top table. UEFA much better. You know, I mean, some people are trying to say UEFA are the good guys in this. They're not the good guys. They've been screwing us for years. We know that. I mean, City fans boo. People ask, why do you boo? It's because UEFA screw us. They don't care about the fans either. You know, you get fined more for being 1 minute late after half time than the fans racially abusing opposition players. You know, so there's a lot going on, and it's all to do with money. And I honestly, unless the players make a stand, and unless the extra clubs that they want to come on board make us say we're not going to do it, us fans can't change it. You know, we can make as much noise as we want, but we don't matter to them. They'll find some new fans. You know, I was talking to some guys yesterday, and my final point, and let you guys chip in yourself. But you'll get to a stage where, you know, at City, say City can't fill the stadium. Well, everybody says we can't anyway, but
say City can't anyway.
Yeah,
when was the last time you did that?
say this 20,000 spare tickets. They'll give them away, 10 quid each, and they'll do it all over the Europe. Any fan, for instance, you've got fans who say, I can't pay 60 quid for a ticket, okay, for a home game. But a tenner, you know, even though they've shat on all the fans, I'd love to be able to go. And, you know, working person, I can't afford it, but I can afford a tenner. And so they'll get the crowds in either cheaply or free until it's a regular thing, and then they'll just put the money up. Once it's become the status quo, is this Super League, everybody wants to get there. The players want to go there. I can't imagine. I mean, people say, you know, did City really want this? Did Chelsea really want this? Part of me says they did, and part of me says they had no choice. Because if you don't go along with it, you're going to have these clubs earning £300 million more than you. That's a tough spot to start with. If they're still allowed to compete in their domestic leagues, you're screwed because of FFP of some sort. You can't compete financially with them. Your own league, if they get booted out, or it's devalued. So can you imagine the Premier League without those big six? What's it worth? It's not going to be worth even 20% of what it is now. Your money's going to go down. The players are going to say, hang on, you can't afford to pay me. Or the big competition's over there. You see right now, you know, Arsenal potentially losing some players this summer, potentially, or other clubs. We say, well, you're not going to get that Champions League. I want to play in the Champions League, and there's more, you know, more kudos playing there. There's more money playing there, so you'll get players. And so if City went down that route and said, no, yeah, we're gonna stick with our fans and on principle, their income's going to drop, okay, because the Premier League income's going to drop. All these other clubs are going to go ahead. The players are going to leave because they say, well, you know, the money's over there, the competition's over there, I'm going to go. And then you're going to get this spiral. And then the Premier League becomes more and more devalued. The Championship as well. The pyramid collapses because even though there's
Ray,
it's not
you're hitting on
at the moment.
Ray.
You're trickling down 20% of what it used to be. It's gone. Football's gone.
Exactly. If this happens, which is why I'm not saying UEFA are the good guys, but they're not the worst guys. There is the worst guys. If this happens, that you're going to see a lot of the things you just mentioned there, Ray.
But the
and I
UEFA
wanted to point out is you mentioned about the fans not really mattering, and that's a fact of football. Money's never going to leave football completely. Okay, that's just a fact. Everybody needs to accept it. If you ever think it's going to go back to like it was in the 70s or 80s or even before that, you're lying to yourself, and you may as well find another sport to watch because it's never going to be that. But what it can be is what it is now, which is a decent product to watch and still competitive. And we've sat here with Leicester and West Ham sat in Champions League places. Right now on the Premier League table, Leicester and West Ham are sat in Champions League places. So I'm not going to listen to anybody that says the Premier League isn't competitive as we know it right now. And in terms of fans, there's only so much revenue you can take from domestic fans turning up to your stadium. Like, it costs more for me to go watch Liverpool than it did for me to fly to Germany, book a hotel, book my transport, get all my beers in, and go see Borussia Dortmund live in the Yellow Wall. It cost me less money, and I live less than 3 hours from Liverpool. But the thing is, I was a tourist when I went to Dortmund. I'm a tourist when I go to Liverpool, but I also support my local clubs. I work at a semi-professional club, and I support the club of the town I was born in. Heavily support them, as in buy their shirts every season, go to the game whenever I can. Okay, I think that's important to do. But by all means, watch football at the top level. It's a spectacle to watch. If you've watched PSG and Bayern Munich just the other night there, fantastic. In complete neutral, I was enriched in that game more than any other game I've probably watched this season. Okay, So the products that we have now, I think, are okay, are fine and do the job. I understand the UEFA Champions League that it used to just be you had the cup for the champions, then you had, the one for the rest of them, the top four or whatever, and then you had the Cup Winners' Cup, which I think is probably a better format, but not as much as a lucrative format as the Champions League as it is now. But yeah, I'm totally. If this goes ahead, then all of that goes. West Ham and Leicester don't sit in Champions League places, and I think people are. This is bad, but then they look at what it is now, and they're slight what it is now. Sky's got all the money. Sky's, yeah, it does, but it's not a terrible watch, and it is a wee bit more expensive than it probably should be. But I don't feel like that's destroyed a football pyramid and any sort of competitiveness in the league. I don't feel like that is as anywhere near as bad as this European Super League. I'm not saying that UEFA and Sky are the good guys, but they're definitely not worse than what's coming if this goes through.
I think you're right in what you say. I think everybody is looking at 6 individuals at the moment, and you're looking at England because people are calling them a little mafia, and that's what they're saying they are. And I'll bring up this comment here, Ray. I'll come to you. I think it's something that you'd said actually. Was LK says the irony is that they've mismanaged our clubs and now they're trying to destroy us. Is this going to happen, Ray, or have we got enough people on our side to unite together to prevent this? Do you think?
Well, I thought about it. How can this be stopped? The fans can't make any difference. Money generally talks. People say, oh, well, is there going to be a broadcaster? Yes, there is. I've heard of 2 offers, one of $3.5 billion, one of $4 billion, which is double what the current broadcast deal for the Champions League is. So that's going to happen from that side of things. The bank, JP Morgan, are going to underwrite it by, was it $6 billion? So, they've got some backers there. Sponsors will come on board. If you get the right, let's just say for argument's sake, all the players at those big clubs are allowed, and they go to the new European Super League. The sponsors are going to flock to it because all the best players in the world will be playing in that European Super League. So people say, where would the sponsors come from? You'll see the sponsors come. They'll sponsor it. Absolutely no problem about that. So how can it be stopped? There's only, as I said, 2 ways. The players just say we're not having it, and then they have it out with the clubs. But then the clubs turn around and say, well, you're under contract. So either you don't play anywhere, or we'll keep you wrapped up in legal stuff. You won't play anywhere. And then this is a more difficult. It's clubs either saying, actually, we got it wrong. I can't see them pulling out because you pull out, you can't go back in again. More than likely. And then they'll have to go to other clubs. So it looks like, maybe Bayern don't come in, maybe Dortmund and maybe PSG. I reckon PSG are just hanging on until Chelsea, City, and Real Madrid get kicked out, and then they win it by default, the Champions League or something. But so once they'll start looking at other clubs, they will go to other clubs. I mean, they could go to Germany and say, Schalke, you're bottom of the Bundesliga, you go getting relegated. We know you got this model there, but you get 70,000 fans at your home games, so you've got the fan base, you've got the might and the clout and the history behind you. Why don't you come along? And they'll keep going till they get a club and that's still got enough stature. Maybe they might just go to Ajax and say, we'll get you in Ajax, we'll give you 100 million euros. And they might say, we have no choice but to accept. Let the others have 300, but 100 million to Ajax is massive money. So I think you're going to get a lot of approaches to clubs until they get who they want. I think Porto have turned them down as well. And unless those clubs say, no, we're not interested, they might end up with just 12. I don't think it'll be 12 because I'm sorry, if you go to, let's say you go to Newcastle and you say to Mike Ashley, Mike, here's 80 million quid, come and play in the European Super League for a season. He's there, and they'll find other clubs. Marseille, they go to Marseille or Lyon and say, look, you're a bit strapped for cash, 80 million quid. Roma, just to have a little extra spice from other countries. And they might end up excluding Germany altogether. But there'll be clubs who'll do it because at the end of the day, your businesses, you've got to survive. And however distasteful it might be, businesses will do what it takes to survive and thrive as best they can. And I think that's what's going to happen.
And Simo, do you think that there's anything that can be done now? Perhaps it might change, but then what, in 5 years' time it happens? I just feel, my gut feeling is it's going to happen eventually. I've just got a bad feeling.
Something will happen. Yeah, reform is happening. UEFA were already proposing a reform for the Champions League in 2024. which was going to look at a more Swiss model where it would be an extra 2 teams, so 36 making up the competition. It would then split down so everybody gets a chance to play each other, etc., etc. I wasn't a fan of it, but again, it wasn't really affecting domestic leagues, and you're not looking at clubs getting kicked out of domestic league. In terms of what will happen, we're at the point where neither side can blink and give in to the other. That just can't happen. There needs to be some sort of middle ground. At the beginning of this, a lot of people thought this was just posturing by the clubs to gain a more favourable deal for them to manage the distribution of the income of the broadcast deals, and there will be a compromise. It will not be like UEFA won't blink and these clubs won't blink. They're too far in. There's been too much malice. You got the president of UEFA calling out everybody that's left. You got the clubs coming and saying this is what's, and not saying a word, and this is what's better for the league. Real Madrid have just come out and said this will clear our debt. This will clear our debt. We're doing this. PSG. A lot of people think, oh, well done to PSG for not joining. That's because the president has broadcast. It gets a lot of money tied up in the broadcast and the Saudi Arabia, Dubai countries, and it's going to be hard to predict how it's going to actually turn out, because I just don't think either side can blink. Both are in far too deep.
And what does it mean for our season? I mean, Arsenal have had a shocking season in terms of the league, but we're still in the Europa League. Man City, we'll come on to in a minute as to why you can't do the quadruple, but you're still in a lot of this season in terms of the Champions League. I mean, does it matter? What happens if we say Arsenal win the Europa League and Man City win the Champions League? I mean, does it matter for Arsenal's season next season? And is there not going to be a Champions League? Is it? I mean, where do we go from here? Has this whole season just been a waste, Simo? Do you think?
Yeah, if it goes ahead, this whole season will be a waste, and then every season that follows will be a waste because there's no point. You can't lose. You can win. So we'll call it winning. I mean, I don't really think if there's no stakes in the table that you can fail, then you can't win. If you can't fail, then you can't win, in my opinion. Yeah, but if they do if they do come to some sort of compromise and they agree some sort of favourable broadcast deal or some sort of reform, what they want is basically the big clubs to be able to play each other on a more frequent basis to generate those massive incoming broadcasts, sort of like your PSGs and your Bayerns. That, the amount of money that matchmaker will make, more money than a few other matches combined. And they want more frequency.
If this does happen, I mean, I'll ask you both. Start with you, Simo. Is that it for you in Liverpool, or what happens?
Absolutely, yeah. That's it for me for Premier League sort of. Well, maybe I'll still watch the Premier League if it does go ahead. In terms of finding another club, I'm aligned with Liverpool because the amount of footballing legends that I admired that went through Liverpool, Bill Shankly, Bob Paisley. If you're a football nerd, then these and obviously from my home country and stuff like that, and there's a long Kenny Dalglish, Graham Souness and stuff like that. There's a lot of Liverpool supporters in Scotland, and in terms of, I'll probably watch German football. I'll watch if it stays as it is. German football's a cracking watch. I love Borussia Dortmund, and I love a lot of German football. So will it be the end of football? I'm not going to let some 6 billionaires, 6 people. I'm not going to let them ruin the love of the game that I've loved, for forever, for as long as I can remember. So it won't be the end of football, but in terms of my relationship with Liverpool, yeah, absolutely.
Fair play. Ray, I'll come to you on the same point. I mean, if it gets to the stage where this replaces the Champions League and we still have a Premier League, then I think, like Simo says, the Premier League will just be a distraction that gets in the way of the elite Super League. So what would you do in terms of Man City and if they're a part of it?
It's really difficult because until it happens, it's all. So many fans have said, whatever happens, whether they come back, they've gone too far. We're not going to go again. Let's wait and see. It's the same with COVID. We had stories of fans saying, tons of fans saying we're not going to go once COVID's over, for whatever reason. But at City, I think that number's only about 10%. Only 10% of the season card holders have said they're not going to renew, which is pretty decent, actually, compared to what it normally is. So it's not much more. What would I do? I mean, it's been a tough season anyway. It's been a tough season. And this just makes it worse. I mean, honestly, we got 2 games tomorrow, men's and women's. So I cover both teams. I've not done any previews with anybody. I mean, for example, we've got the women's team. They've got a game on tomorrow against Chelsea, and the 2 points separating us at the top of the table. And it feels like winner takes all. The winner of that, there's only, I think City will have 2 games left after that. Winner of that probably wins the league. This week was supposed to be loads of previews with Chelsea fans talking about, up for the game. And we're on Tuesday. I've done now. We got a game against Aston Villa. I mean, I even forgot who we were playing tomorrow. I've known for weeks, and it's in your head. And now it's just popped out. I had to go and check who we're playing. And I've not really got much oomph for it. People are asking me to do previews, and I always say yes, but I'm not doing my own. I've not got that that enjoyment or that desire to bust me guts to do stuff. So what's going to happen? I don't know. I'll speak to my kids because I pay for my kids to go. I suspect they're not going to be that bothered because young teenagers, there's other things to do. I know other people are paying for their kids as well, and it's going to depend on what their kids want as well. Maybe the younger fan will accept it, what goes on, because it might not make a big difference to them. But the older fans, every older fan I've spoken to at City, they don't want it. And a lot of them will say, we're not going to keep coming. We're not going to go. City have, betrayed us. That's one of the words used, betrayed us. And there's no coming back from this betrayal. It's like, your missus, you've been with her for 30 years and then you find out she's been sending dirty messages to the fella next door. You got a choice to make. Do you kick her out or do you take her back? And that's what it kind of feels like. So, I'll plod on till the end of the season, and then I'll try and clear my head. But it's very difficult to support what they're doing, especially to the fans. I know they've been doing it for years, and it was going to happen eventually. Something was going to happen where they would really kick us in the nuts, and I think that's what they're doing now. And it's whether you can take it. Speak to your mates, and if a lot of your mates aren't going, and that's one of the reasons you go. You break that bond with the day out and everything else, and going on away trips. It's always an occasion. It's just hard to, as I said, it's hard to say until you have to make that decision. But final thing, City had 2,000 tickets for Sunday, 2,000 tickets, and they finally sold them today. I mean, no one wants to go. People are asking for the money back for the Carabao Cup final. I understand nobody wants to watch Tottenham play, but that's by the by. But people want the money back. They feel betrayed. They're spending an arm and a leg getting COVID tests, being forced to take a train or a coach, and then pay for the ticket. People are spending a couple of £100, and they feel betrayed by what the club have done to the fans. And this, there'll be some that won't come back. But as I said, they'll find new fans. It's the product, and if that's what's plastered all over the telly, that's what's talked about the most, they'll find new fans, and we won't matter.
It is such a shame, and I personally feel like if it is this Super League and the Premier League is pretty much no more, then I will have to follow Arsenal Football Club and support somebody else. I really will. I can't get behind this, and I never thought I would ever be saying this. It's quite scary. It's quite surreal. It has felt like football morning. It has been a strange sleep for me the last couple of nights because this is a massive part of my life. I'm a season ticket holder at Arsenal. Me and my dad go and I meet all the boys and I'm on podcasts and I meet everybody and we have a real good laugh. And football isn't about 90 minutes for me. Football is about before and after as well, just as much. And it's about the socialising. And it's been very, very difficult the last couple of years. And I said last night that everybody was joking in 2020 and said if you had to compare 2020 to a footballer, it would be David Luiz because it's an absolute shambles. But I compared 2021 to Mesut Ozil because it's happened, but it might well have not happened because they might well have not been playing on the pitch because that's what this year's been. It's just been shocking. It really has. And I can't see how much worse this is going to get, Simo, because we've got VAR, which is causing issues. We've got poor refereeing decisions. We can't go to games. And now this Super League, I mean, the same thing comes in threes, but this is coming about 30s. I mean, what is happening at the moment? It's becoming unenjoyable to watch now.
Yeah, I tried to watch Liverpool last night and it just felt, I was saying to you before we started, it just felt so secondary to me. Like, as if it was just time pass, and it just really didn't. I didn't feel anything watching the game, excitement, or anger when we played bad in the second. I just didn't care. I was just more concerned about where is this club going, what's going to happen. I was sad to see Jurgen Klopp coming out. He doesn't want to throw his employers right under the bus right away. He tries to keep a level head. And bear in mind, the man, he's known about this as long as we have, and he brought a wee bit out in Gary Neville, and that was for me, that is bringing out frustration in someone that he couldn't turn right around to his owners and just say, for what I give 5 years to this club, won a Premier League, won a Champions League, and you didn't even have the decency to warn me off. The decency to warn me off. You throw me to the wolves. I need to go in front of the press here and not lose my head. Gary Neville was on the same side as Jurgen Klopp.
Yeah.
So I really do think it was born out of frustration, and he just wanted to see someone off. It just happened to be Gary, and we all like to see Gary off every now and then, even though we probably appreciate the job he does. But yeah, it's a surreal sort of thing. And you mentioned about VAR, referees. It's just seen so minuscule issues. It's like, for me, it's like complaining that a bulb's gone when your house is burning down. It's like it's not even relevant as a problem to solve. For me, there is one problem to solve, and that needs to be everyone's focus. And Ray, I know you said that fans don't matter and stuff like that. I disagree. I think the more people, even us in our limited audience, we're out here speaking about it. Let your club know you're not happy with it on Twitter, on Instagram, on Facebook. Let them know. Stand outside your club. By all means. If we all just did nothing because it doesn't matter anyway.
No. I'm not saying we do. I'm not saying we do nothing, because you can see Chelsea fans outside Stamford Bridge, Spurs fans there, Leeds fans were there. Fans will show their anger, but how long will they keep doing it? Come back in a month's time, and and ask me then how many fans are still outside grounds. How many fans are going to turn up to the last game of the season? We all we see is the vocal few. We might see 100 Leeds fans outside the ground, but there might be half the Leeds fans are quite happy with it. Maybe thinking get rid of those. We might be able to win something if you get rid of the big six. Leeds will be probably Leeds will be top 6 in the table. So you guys will be top 4 if you backed out now and everybody else got kicked out. I'm saying the fans should make their feelings known, because it's like someone's dying and you're letting it happen, and and you're doing nothing about it, and you can see the mistakes or you can see a solution. But I just think the money is so much, it's a lifeline to the Spanish clubs and the Italian clubs. It's just so much money, and the English clubs as well with their American owners. It's not just the American owners, but they're used to working in a certain way. But I think when you've got the Spanish clubs, the Italian clubs, and 3 English clubs with American owners, it's that's a lot of big clubs. Man United, Liverpool. If you're looking at the biggest clubs in the world, I'd say Man United, Liverpool, Barcelona, Real Madrid are probably top 4 of the top 5 with Bayern Munich. And if they get 80% of them, and then some of the other really big ones, and tagging Spurs at the end, then you've got a big starting point. And I think it can be very hard. But the fans have got to make their voices heard as much as they can. But I just don't think the owners are going to listen. I mean, when was it last time Stan Kroenke went to Emirates?
Oh, mate, honestly, I was just going to bring this up. Fans have never been able to unite at the Arsenal Football Club, and I've always said that. But I think that fans can unite. I think fans do have a voice. I think that we do have to make sure we're all on the same page, however. And I think that is what will happen, and it won't just be fans uniting. I think it'll be the media. I think it'll be the press. I think it'll be managers that are coming out. I mean, Jurgen Klopp comes out and says that the Champions League is the Super League. Pep Guardiola's come out today with some comments. I want to bring this up, though, just before we do move on, because I think it's important and it is quite funny for us. What do Ray and Simo feel about Tottenham's inclusion? Obviously, as Arsenal fans, we're biased, but I think it's outrageous they've got in on the back of one League Cup in the last 30 years. Now, obviously, as an Arsenal fan, I'm going to agree and laugh and think that they're a banter club, etc. However, we can't sit there and be too laughing too hard, because we have been a shambles for the best part of 15 years, albeit we have won some FA Cups. But Simo, let's come to you. Spurs. What's it about? Is it just money? I mean, what is it with Spurs?
Well,
what are they great? Are they elite? What's going on?
It's essentially a big stadium in Hurricane. That's what they bring to the table.
And hopefully it won't be much longer. Harry Kane might be going, so that's good.
Yeah, they said that 2 seasons ago as well. But like,
True.
I think he might actually go this time though. In terms of how they got there, I mean, the club statements that were released were pretty much copy and pasted, and it was all a competition about the teams with the most glorious history in the Champions League, all coming together to win Super League. Tottenham have never won a Champions League. They're not won a league in 60 years. What's going on? What is going on? Ajax have won it like how many times?
5 times. Or 4 or 5 times.
4 or 5 times. Oh my word! I could say the same about Arsenal as well, but the subject is Tottenham, and I'm not saying I don't want to use the term Liverpool deserve to be in it more than Tottenham, but Liverpool have a history in the Champions League. If they were going to do it, they should have looked at the list. If you don't win a Champions League, you don't get in. If they were really genuinely trying to make a Super League, but they'll just try to say, they could fill that stadium. They get Harry Kane. People watch that. And that's a bit of just it.
But it is the biggest global fan bases generally. So Spurs, we can laugh at them, but they've got a stadium where when that is fully operational, they're looking at 120 million quid or even more. On match days, which would be similar to what United's last one was 111. So they're going to be up there, massive money coming in. They do have a decent fan base around the world, and I think that's what it's going to be. You look at something like Newcastle, yes, they can fill their stadium and they're big in the northeast, but around the world they're not the same. City, fortunately, for the last 10 or 12 years, we've had a little bit of money behind us, and we've been able to attract fans. Which is really,
I was going to say understatement of the century.
We had some money pumped in for about 4 years, and that's it. Since then, we spend what we earn. That's it. But. It's really difficult. And when we talk about, I saw this analogy. Someone said these big clubs around the world have got a hole in their finances. So what do you do? What do you do to plug that hole? Do you cut costs or do you increase revenue? And they've gone for the increase in revenue. And someone said it's like having a swimming pool and it's got a hole in it. What do you do? What should you do? Do you plug the hole or do you keep pouring water in so that to keep the pool up to the right height? So that they should be looking at ways to plug the hole or selling up, which is what's happened in the past. That's always happened. If you feel you can't, and you hear that from owners. I felt I couldn't take the club any further, or I'm skint, like what's his name there, Simon Jordan. I'm skint, so I'm going to have to sell up. And you sell it to someone else who's got vision, usually local, and plenty of money. So if you can't compete with somebody else and you want to, that's what you do. Whereas these guys, what they're doing is, looking for another way out to increase the income, and it will take it away from everybody else. So they just want a bigger share of that pie. And United, the way I think it's going to work is they're looking to stream, get more revenue for their home games. So if United can get 30 million on a stream, or 30 million people around the world watching their home game against Real Madrid, and Man City can only get 5 million, United can say, well, why should we share that? We want the full value for what we're bringing. So it is. Look, we know it's all greed. It's the way of the world, sadly.
Yeah, 100% it is. Worrying times ahead, and hopefully we'll find out more information in the coming days, because I still don't know a lot about it, if I'm honest with you. We are going to move on because there was some football, believe it or not, over the weekend. But there may well not be if you're talking about the FA Cup. I have never seen such boring semi-finals in all my life. Ray, what happened? And are you gutted that you cannot do the quadruple now?
I'm not bothered about the quadruple.
No?
No, honestly, I've said it'd be great if we did it because everybody would shut up then. Okay, or they'd find another thing to say. Look at it. So let's get this right. City get 100 points. They score a record 106 goals. They get a plus 79 goal difference, which is another record. A massive gap between first and second. All these records broken left, right, and centre. And you got people saying that's not enough. You got to do it again. Hang on, we've just done all these records. This stuff has not been done before. Some of it, no one's been close to doing this before. And you say it's not good enough. So we go out and do it again. And then people move the goalposts and they don't recognise what City have done. Because that 98 points is like, hang on, that's the second highest points total ever. No one's ever come close to this. And all these other records. And people just diss us. So I just thought if we got the 4, maybe that'll shut people up. And they'll have to say, look, you've won 3 titles in 4 years. Liverpool got lucky last year for whatever reason, doping or whatever. Look into it, Tim. Look into it. but people, seriously, people say you won it 3 times out of 4 years. You are a great team and all that. But I'm on record as saying I don't think we'll do it. So we'll fall down somewhere because it's really tough. Got all these games in a short space of time. It didn't help having the Carabao Cup moved. Because now it's constituting everything together.
As long as you win that one, I don't care.
Oh yeah, that's it. That's one of my favourite trophies. But the thing is, Pep's not looking at the FA Cup. I mean, the team that he put out, I think was it 3 first teamers. That's it in my mind. And he's put in players, and he did it in the loss to Leeds. We saw that as another disjointed performance where he's put in players who either haven't played much this season. Like Leeds, he had Ake, who'd been injured most of the season. He puts players in like Torres, who hasn't played since Boxing Day or something. And he puts in a lot of players who are either out of form, like Sterling. And he puts in 1 or 2 others who are, Cancelo's dropped off his form and others. And then you go out and lose that game. And then he goes and does it again after the Dortmund. He puts in a lot of players who, haven't played together, haven't played enough, out of form, and you put in a shambolic performance. We didn't look like winning. And, yeah, City fans are gutted. And we know he's looking at, in his case, the bigger picture. He's looking at the bigger picture. But the thing for me is, if the players weren't fit enough or were too tired after the game against Dortmund, I can accept that. But I don't believe that's the case. I don't believe Phil Foden is too tired to play a game on Wednesday and Saturday. I don't believe that. I don't believe that KDB is the only major star that was fit enough to do those 2 games. So, Pep's rolled the dice, and he's not got it right. He's taken a chance, and it's come back and bitten us in the arse. And, we've lost 3 games out of 8 now. I mean, that's Arsenal level, isn't it, now? So we're a bit... No, but
Arsenal should be so lucky.
But the thing is, it's made losing these league games, it's made the rest of the season, it's like, hang on, so we've got Villa now. We have to go all out against Villa. If we beat Leeds, we're almost touching the title. We're 4 points away from the title in 6 games. We'll get that. And now Pep's put pressure on himself. We've got to go out and beat Villa. Then we've got Spurs. And then 3 days later, we've got another game. So I can see us putting out another weakened side against Spurs, which worries me. Because, even a bust clock is right twice a day.
What's a weakened side for City? I can't feel too sorry for you.
I don't know. Yeah, it's not as if
Here you go, Zach Steffen in goal. Ben Mendy at left back. Yeah.
Zach Steffen is a terrific keeper.
Yeah, Zach Steffen's all right. He's made a couple of errors, more than Edison.
And a 50 million left back.
Oh, well, come on, man. A pair of crutches is better than Mendy these days. Mendy's gone. He's gone. He's useless. No. Look, I make some notes during games. I said, Mendy, okay, he's struggling to pass it. Can't cross it for Toffee. Can't dribble, okay? And he can't defend. So what's he bringing us? And in that Leeds game, it's like when Pep moves Zinchenko to left back, he had Mendy on the left wing. What the hell is that about? So... You can have Mendy there. Cancelo's in some stinking form right now. And you can put like Jesus there, Sterling there, Torres. You're asking for trouble putting Zinchenko in midfield. That's a weakened side. We've got a strong side, but I think Pep is going to be solely focused on the semi-final of the Champions League. So that concerns me about Spurs. Because look, Spurs can get lucky against City. It happens. And I'm worried because, I want to go on to speak to Spurs fans and rub their noses in it, but I'm worried that I'm not going to be able to after this Sunday.
Not as worried as Dan.
No, I am extremely, extremely worried. Simo, I'm going to come to you now, but just want to bring this comment in from Billy Powell.
Apparently,
Go on, Powell. Apparently, Petr Cech is with the Chelsea fans outside the stadium. That is top class. An Arsenal legend, of course, Petr Cech. No, Simo, let's come to you just quickly. FA Cup roundup. It was boring as hell. Who do you fancy to go on and win that now? And who do you fancy for the League Cup final?
I would say City are probably going to win the League Cup final. Spurs have just sacked their manager, inexplicably, to be quite honest. You talk about a weakened side, Ray, but to any neutral, I think you're looking at that side through light blue glasses, because a lot of people look at that side and they think, oh, do you know what? I'd have 8 or 9 of those players in my team if they were available. I think probably City would do it, but obviously it's a final, and I don't think you can ever just go off like form and specific sort of lineups in a final. The final kind of, well, it'll be a weird one because it's not good fans, but yeah, it's a game that's got to be judged on its own.
There's 8,000 fans, isn't there? But it's not.
Oh yeah, there are fans. Yeah, but
well, there's. I mean, that barely cut. That was that like not even a tenth of a stand. I mean, it's just. I mean, they still need to put on the FIFA crowd noise.
Timo, the thing is, it'll be like the last time we played Arsenal after about 60 minutes. Most of their fans had gone, so there's always City fans.
I was there. I was still there, Ray. I was still there. Unfortunately, I was when Mustafi headed it back to Sergio Aguero. I was still there till the end.
That was the first goal. I mean, but
there was another 3 after that, wasn't there, or 2?
No, 3-0. I've always said one thing that irks me is that we never stuff Arsenal. We always beat them, almost always, but it's always once we get 3 goals.
That was a 6-3 one year, wasn't there? 6-3, I'm sure there was one year.
Well, that was a long time. That was pre-Pep. But since Pep's been here, they've been content with getting 3 goals. And I think like that one where we beat you 3-0 in the when it was snowing the 4 days after the final. We were 3-0 up after 35 minutes. We could have hit you for 6 or 7. And I always wish we'd done that, because all the times you'd spanked us, you never felt sorry for us. You kept spanking us. There was one game you came to up to Manchester and you were 4-0 up at half time or something. And you carried on spanking us. And I just don't understand why City let you off the hook.
Was that when you bought that shirt you got on now?
I tell you what, it was this was a night. Actually, this shirt was it's about 97, 98. So we might not have been in the Premier League then, or the top division. But then, so let's not talk about that. It's too long.
There might be some breaking news here.
Yeah, Chelsea
are leaving the Super League now. They're pulling out. That is good news, because Jamie Carragher said, didn't he, last night? It just takes one to pull out, and the rest will follow. And I think that is really good news. If that's true, it's on Sky Sports News now that Chelsea apparently are pulling out.
This is the thing. For me, part of it, you could just say the English clubs could say should be pushing UEFA to make it harder for Real Madrid and Barcelona to survive with that £1 billion of debt. And the Italian clubs and the English clubs, they're already very strong financially, and they could really put the squeeze on the others. Part of me doesn't understand why they're doing it. You know why they're doing it, but part of me says, why don't they take more for themselves and push the Spanish clubs away and push the Italian clubs away? Because but then there's always the risk that the rest of Europe gangs up on the English, because we've got the best TV deals and they can't compete.
Fair play. I think it's going to be going back to the Cups. I think Chelsea's to lose and City's to lose, which we'll see what happens with the FA Cup and League Cup. Before we finish up, quick roundup. Jose Mourinho has gone. What do we think, Simo?
Well, the writing was beginning to show on the wall, wasn't it? I mean, near the end of his time at Man United, they did start doing those sort of press conferences where he shows no interest. It's players under the bus. It's not my fault. It's everyone else's. I just didn't think it was going to come so soon. I thought they'd give him the final, because the man knows how to win trophies, and he has a record that shows that. I think it would have been good for him to leave, and say, I don't want the European Super League, and then he walks. That would have been his easy out, and it would have been really good press for him, and it would have been a very Jose Mourinho thing to do. But yeah, I mean, he obviously didn't have the back line that he'd needed to play his football, and he had that issue at Man United as well. And it was always going to happen. and he's already said he'll return to football fairly soon. I think he will. Maybe a national job or something like that. The Bayern job is there, although I don't think he'll get it. I think he'll go to Nagelsmann. He's very promising at RB Leipzig. But yeah, that's my thoughts. Not altogether surprising. The only thing that surprises me is it came about a bit sooner than I thought it would.
Yeah, and Ray, the timing surprises me because if there's any chance that Tottenham have got of winning a trophy, it would have been, at the weekend. Because Jose somehow knows how to get a trophy. So is the timing a bit strange? And is Jose Mourinho going to go and manage somebody else very soon? Do you think?
I don't think you can keep him down. He might go back to Italy. I think that's a decent place for him to go to. The thing is, you got to look. I think it's costing them 16 million quid to get rid of him. So he's not crying. He's still not crying about it. How
much has he made, do you reckon, just by being sacked? He must be.
He got 25 million from United. He got 20 million from Chelsea or something. He must be laughing his head off because, let's be honest, unless you're a Spurs fan, you don't want to be around White Hart Lane. So he's getting the boot. He's happy to go. He's getting 60 million quid for it. But he'll be your next manager. I said that earlier in the season. Earlier in the season. Be careful, guys, because he'll get the boot at Spurs, and you'll look at him and say, "Yeah, but he's a serial winner." The thing is, if he'd won on Sunday, that would have made it much more difficult for Daniel Levy to give him the boot, because he'd have had that. Wow, I won something, and the fans would have been probably more against Levy, even though they hate a lot of them now. They've turned on Jose, but if he wins something for the first time in 10, 12, 15 years. Or whatever it is, then the fans would be on his side. So Levy might get a bit of it in the neck, and then he might feel coerced. Not coerced is right, whatever. He might feel forced to let Mourinho stay and have another summer of spending, and then he'd be gone in the autumn anyway. So get it done now, and maybe the new manager bounce works. We don't know what's going on behind the scenes. Whether the players, some of the senior players have gone in to Levy and said, "Look, we're sick and tired of this. Get rid of him, or I want to leave." You can't have three or four senior players come and say that. Who knows? I mean, did Dele Alli, Son, one or two others come in and say whatever? As well. I mean, apparently Bale wasn't his choice to get. So there's always that little bit of conflict, and Bale comes across as a Levy signing. A good deal. It's a good deal. We can do that. Let's do that. Regardless of whether it's a good deal for the team, but it's a good deal on paper. But yeah, it was only a matter of time that Jose left. Am I glad he's gone before Sunday? I don't know. If we beat Spurs 6-0, I'll be happy he's gone. But if we lose and they get that new manager bounce, and we put out a weakened side, and come Monday morning, most of the country's crying because Spurs have won, I'll not be happy.
Fair play. Before we do wrap up, I've got to ask you both. I'll start with Simo, and I'll come back to Ray because I kind of half know Ray's opinion. Mikel Arteta on Arsenal, Simo. It's looking pretty bleak. I'm not a fan, and I've said that I'm not a fan for a while. I think everybody knows that I'm pretty much Arteta out, and it's time for change, and it's needed an experienced manager. I never wanted this guy, etc. I'm not seeing enough progress, and I said last night on the podcast that how many teams have Arsenal taken 6 points off of this season, and the answer is 1. Sheffield United, who got relegated 2 weeks ago. That is it. We've either drew or lost to another team. Now we've got 4 chances of making that happen against Newcastle, Brighton, West Brom, and Chelsea, but it seems very unlikely with a couple of those teams. So. If you were an Arsenal fan looking at it from outside in, what would your thoughts be and what would you like to see happen?
I like the fact that he's young and that is his first job in management. It's at a high level, and he's obviously, his ties to the club have obviously helped that, and learning under Pep Guardiola has obviously helped that. Will he improve? Managers improve the same as players improve, without a doubt. He's shown some good decision making and some really, really horrendously bad decision making. Some of the football Arsenal played, when it's been slick, it has really, really worked. But when it's not worked, it's really, really not worked. And there's a lot of, I see just a few games ago, I seen Yannick Granit Xhaka pressing at the byline, and I'm thinking, wait, you're like the holding midfielder. Why are you ahead of Aubameyang? And it's
Shocking.
It's as simple as that. And I think when it does go right, it goes right. But who do you get in to replace him? For me, it would need to be some sort of. If you're not going to go with young and up and coming, you need to go with an experienced head. I said this last time I was on the pod, and that when Everton and Arsenal were both looking at managers, I thought Carlo Ancelotti was going to go to Arsenal and Arteta would go to Everton, given that he has ties with Everton as well. Obviously, that didn't come to fruition, and Carlo Ancelotti, I believe, he's still showing his quality as a manager, and I believe when he deepens that squad, you will see some of the football that you've seen near the beginning of the season over a longer course. A manager that I'd probably pick out from the top of my head that could replace Arteta is maybe Brendan Rodgers, who shows a lot of promise. Obviously, he was a lot younger when he took the Liverpool job, and he's had a job at a top 6 club. Obviously, he gave a good run at the league, didn't quite get over the line. Promising manager, a lot of time left in football. Brendan Rodgers as well could be the man, but that's my thoughts on it.
Fair play. I mean, for me, I wanted to see a Simeone or an Allegri or an Ancelotti come in when Wenger went. And then obviously we got Emery and everyone was like, but at least I said he'd won 3 Europa Leagues in a row and he'd done stuff at PSG as well as Valencia and Seville. So I was okay with that. I believed that he had to go when he went, but I wanted then that to be we tried the guy who would not really won the elite. Let's go and get somebody who knows what he's doing. Allegri was available. Rafa Benitez would have come. He was in China. That was another option that I had. And we went for Arteta. And I just thought, what is going on? Ray, almost 2 years ago to the day, you warned me. You said, don't go for Arteta. He was our number 2. You need to go and get an experienced man. I think it would be a risk. What are your thoughts 2 years on?
It's a funny old thing because that last season, he finished it pretty much on fire. And, he beat almost the only big team that he didn't beat was Spurs. You beat City, beat United, you beat Liverpool, spanked Liverpool, didn't you? To stop that, you stopped their run. I remember you won away at Sheffield United when they were doing well. It was in the cup. You beat Wolves as well. You won against most of the top teams. And so you could see, he did. And he did the numbers on in the cup semi as well. Arteta's tactics worked to a T, and so you could see a lot of promise, and he's not delivered this season. He's not delivered, and I don't know what the reasons for, his lack of progress this season. Because you've gone backwards. Is it because you need more players? Is it because his hand has been forced? And you've got some. Let's be honest, you've got some dross there. What's Willian doing? I don't know. Pepe, if you pay 10 million for Pepe, you'd probably still be unhappy. You've got a few players out there who are just either too old, not good enough for a club like Arsenal. So it's a tough one. It really is, because sometimes he's been pulling some results out of the bag. When you look really down and out, you'd lost about 4 or 5 games on the bounce earlier this season, and suddenly he wins a couple of games, and everything seems a bit hunky dory again. I don't know. I don't know if persevering with him is going to work, or is it just going to add more problems for the next guy? Because Arteta has a summer, buys 2 or 3 players who turn out to be Bob. I don't know. As I said, you could be Jose Mourinho. He won't even have to move house. You laugh at me,
I honestly, I wouldn't rule it out. And I think it's an off chance, but I wouldn't rule it out. And he would say the exact same thing that he said when he got to Spurs. And they said, Jose, we thought you were allegiance to Chelsea, or you're a Chelsea fan. And he said, that was until they sacked me. And he could say the exact same thing when he gets to Arsenal.
Jose Mourinho will destroy us just like he did Spurs. Not that we need much further destroying. Arteta's doing a good enough job, to be fair. But we shall see what happens. He is young. He is going to make mistakes. And I don't actually blame Arteta. I point fingers at the board, and I point fingers at the owners. And particularly after these last few days, I point fingers at the owners even more. It's been a pleasure, guys. Really has. We've managed to round up quite a lot there today. And I think we're all on the same wavelength in terms of the Super League. Simo, it's been a pleasure, mate. Thank you so much for coming back on.
Thanks very much for having me, mate.
Absolute pleasure. We did lose Jake. Jake was in the chat, and he did say his Sky was playing up, which is typical of Sky, isn't it? Unbelievable.
I know.
What timing of Sky to have no
I
broadband for
thought,
it.
I thought you were going to say typical Scouser. Oh, typical Liverpool
Typical
fan.
I wouldn't be saying that stuff on here like that, Ray. I wouldn't be saying stuff on here like that. And my thanks also to Ray for jumping on in the last minute. Mate, it's been a pleasure. We'd love to have you back on. As always, you're always welcome on this channel, mate.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I'm always happy to come on. I'm don't normally find me in the same room as a Liverpool fan these days, but I don't mind. Simmel's all right.
That's the biggest compliment he's given me all night.
That's a compliment.
Finally said something nice to me.
He's probably bald
Absolutely.
under that hat, but hey, but he's all right.
I am bald under this hat. I'm very bald.
Brilliant stuff, guys. Good banter, great fun as always. Thanks to everyone in the chat. Over 250 of you at one point. Watching live, absolutely superb. Thank you so much. There'll be more content coming every Monday, every Friday, and I think we're doing Four on a Mic on Thursday. I think me and Craig are probably going to do a little bit of a double act, a couple of podcasts after each other because Arsenal play Everton on Friday night. So it'll probably be a preview on the Thursday as well. Until then, take care and each other and up the Arsenal.